starting your day off with as little as like a 30-minute light workout or a 30-minute walk even has shown to improve focus throughout the entire day.
You also have to work on your spiritual side. I think we are made with a body and a spirit, and there is no way we can just work on one aspect and forget about the other one.
Make sure you have like an overall purpose of why you're doing it. And I think that initially will help you get that consistency going more, because it's really hard to work out if you don't have like a good goal of why you're doing it. We can always find reasons why not to do it. It's sometimes hard to find that reason why. So it kind of goes back to your goals again. You know, I think the weight room is a great tool for helping people learn a lot of life lessons when it comes to discipline, when it comes to consistency, realizing that things are hard and it's okay that they're hard. It's like, what are you willing to do to be better and learn from it? And it's okay to fail. You're going to fail in life a lot, but how do you respond from it? I think that was the best thing that ever happened to me. Was I went there to play football, but I found the weight room. And I think that's where like I truly found my passion.
Welcome everyone. I'm Juanes again, and this is a very special guest that we have today, Hayden Juanes. We actually went to college together, so I'm very excited for this chat. I hope you guys enjoy it. Before we begin, I just kind of give a little bit background of Lifting the Veil, because this is one of our first videos in English, so we're trying to start the content. Like, you know, we've done a lot of content in Spanish, but now we're trying to expand to the United States. We're going to talk about different things. But the main reason why we decided to do this video is because we did a video in which we invited you and also myself to develop a new life and new habits in our life. So today with Hayden, we're going to talk about a few different things, aspects about how to work on your, I guess, developing consistency in your life, more specifically in your body, and developing good habits so that you can be healthy in the future, but also related to the spiritual side of life. So that being said, why don't you kind of tell us a little bit about yourself, Hayden? I know we met in college back in the day around, like, I don't know, I think we both graduated in 2017. Did you graduate in 2017?
Yeah, awesome. Right around the same time.
Awesome. So, like, just kind of let people know who you are. What's a little bit of your education background and a little bit of your experience now in the work life?
Yeah, absolutely. So went to Hastings College for football, American football. And while I was there, I decided I wanted to go into strength and conditioning or be a strength and conditioning coach. So kind of started to dive into that world and learn a lot more about what it takes. Was very fascinated on how the body works, on how my position and my job could help athletes become better versions of themselves. So that's kind of why I really fell in love with it. So I went on, I got my degree at Hastings in exercise science. I stayed there. I did a graduate assistant where I worked with 3 teams in the weight room and got my master's degree in physical education. While I was working there, I went on to do an internship at the University of Minnesota, where I worked predominantly with the women's soccer team out there and in the weight room. And from there on, I kind of went to a few different spots all around the country. And then recently I have taken a job at the University of Nebraska working with the women's soccer team out here. So that's awesome. Where I'm at as of right now.
That's awesome. Yeah, well, just giving the people a little bit of background. I remember when you were working at Hastings College, like kind of with the 3 teams, I remember you worked with the golf team at some point with us.
Yeah.
I remember your workouts.
That was like one of the first teams I ever had was the golf team.
That's awesome. I do remember. I remember with a lot of like enthusiasm, but I do remember the workouts were tough. But I remember you at like 5 a.m. or 5:30 a.m. always with energy, and I think that made an impact in my life because even when I was in the coaching side just not too long ago, that's the energy that I wanted to bring into the weight room. But it's not easy. It's not easy to bring that energy at 5 a.m. in the morning. The kids are like, "Oh, I don't want to be here." But
yeah, 100%. Cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, no, it's
yeah, go ahead.
It took me a while to really love the mornings, but if I didn't bring the energy, then the kids were never going to have the energy. So you always have to kind of like be the one. You kind of have to fake it a little bit at first, and then they kind of catch on to it. So
yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. Like, because I remember anytime we were there, you were always, first of all, you were always before us. So you probably had to be there. I mean, even, I don't know if we were 5 a.m. or 5:30, but you were there and you were always kind of like pumping us up. So I was just going to ask you, what was the key? So you're saying like sometimes fake it until you make it, but
yeah, like, or I would make sure I woke up early enough and, you know, I'd turn on some music just to kind of get my mind going, Sometimes we'd work out before that so we could get some blood flowing, and we could be ready, and we can go into that more and stuff on the whole benefits and stuff. But I would make sure like I was ready to go, because if I wasn't ready to go, I knew it wasn't going to be a good lift, because you guys are going to see that I didn't have any energy, and then they weren't going to have any energy. So I had to make sure that, energy is a contagious thing. I had to make sure that I had positive energy and I was ready to go at all times.
That's awesome. Well, I can tell you that you did a pretty good job, because I remember the workouts. I specifically remember a workout where you made us like pair up with like someone that was not very in good shape and someone that was a little bit better. But I thought that was pretty cool, because it was like, again, as golfers, like golf is very, very independent sport. Like it's hard to create that team environment.
Yeah.
That workout I still remember to the day. And even when we were like coaching, when I was coaching, and try to kind of do something similar, because it's cool. It makes the person that is kind of fit work at the same level, or I guess pace, and motivate the other one to push itself and finish at the same time. There's so much power in that, and like waiting for the other one, like, because there were still times that we would compete by ourselves. You remember Asier? He was a beast.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's still a beast now, my roommate, but he was always the first one. But when you have to compete with another one, it's kind of cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome. Well, yeah. So I guess we're going to start going into like the questions and everything. And before we go into it, I just want to remind the reason why I thought about this video and lifting the veil. We think that is important to discuss many topics, because lifting the veil, what it refers to, is kind of revealing the unknown, revealing what's hidden of the world. So I have a video where I explain about that. But I think in this aspect, this topic is very, very interesting and very important, because I want us to kind of have like a correlation between being consistent and committed in things like working out, or I guess learning, but also being consistent and persistent in developing a habit of prayer. So that's why in another video, we are proposing people to start praying 3 times throughout the day. One that we do in lifting the veil team, which is at 4:30 a.m. A lot of people think we're crazy, but that's something we do. So we wake up 4:30 a.m., do a prayer. Then we take a little nap. I take a little nap, and then I go to the gym and go to work. But it's something that we're proposing, not as like a mandatory, but we're proposing that lifestyle that has personally changed my life, changed my family's life, and we're just trying to share it with other people and see if we can help anyone else. But on that same aspect, for me, it's been very important working out. So I do my prayer, but also work out in the morning. It has had many benefits in my life. The energy that I have at work is completely different. I don't know. I just go like ready to go once I worked out. I did my prayer and everything. So let's dive into it. So I have the first question was kind of related to that working out or getting early, which we just kind of did. So is it true that working out in the morning provides people several benefits?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it kind of just depends what you're going for also. So, a couple of the few ones are in the morning, you're a little more alert, like you're a little more, you have a release of a hormone called cortisol. And what that hormone does is it helps you, it's called the stress hormone. So if you have like too much or too little, it can cause problems. But when you're waking up in the morning, you have a good amount of it. So you're more focused on your lift, you're ready to go, you're locked in. You tend to have a little bit more energy in the morning, because the first thing you have reduced fatigue, you just slept, you're getting blood flowing. Overall focus is a little bit higher in the morning too. But also there's science out there, there's studies out there that show doing a workout in the morning helps improve focus throughout the day too. They found that starting your day off with as little as like a 30-minute light workout or a 30-minute walk even has shown to improve focus throughout the entire day. If you're, looking to lose weight, there's science out there that shows you have a longer fat burn throughout the day by starting a workout earlier in the morning. Oh, wow. So if that's like something that you're looking for, that's a good goal too. It's really, there's tons out there. So whatever your purpose is, ultimately for me, and what I found in my own life is that when I work out in the morning, I'm way more awake throughout the day. I feel way more productive throughout the day. I feel like getting that blood going in the beginning of the day helps me feel like I have more of the day to use and to utilize to get things done also. And I also don't feel like I wake up and I feel like have to like slowly get going. It allows me to kind of get going at a faster pace. And then I feel like I'm hitting the ground running of the day, not like slowly crawling to get everything going, and I get to work and it's slow. So I just feel like a totally different person when I work out in the mornings compared to when I don't.
That's cool. Yeah, I mean, what you said about focus and like the energy, never thought it that way. And like getting started, like that's pretty cool
Mm-hmm.
because I have seen it. Like whenever I've been able to be consistent,
Yeah.
the benefits that I've seen. Like I work, I do it in the day. I'm more focused, and that's kind of cool.
And the
You touch an interesting topic about losing weight, but I think I'm gonna talk about it later. But that going to the second question, I guess, with your experience right now, is like with working with athletic teams and with, I mean, I guess your all experience overall. Why do you think is it that? I mean, I guess it's maybe the same reason that you were just mentioning, but most of the workouts, I guess, with my experience, I don't have as much experience with you, but I've had the college experience of an athlete and also kind of a little bit 2 years of a coach. But we normally try to plan the workouts in the morning. Why would you say that? Why is it? Is it because just kids are kind of gets them an excuse to get up early and go to bed early, or is it just also for the benefits of it?
I think it really does depend, especially in college athletics. It kind of depends on availability when it comes to class, practice, things like that. But I have some athletes where they like to get it done early, and because they feel like everything we talked about, they feel those symptoms, they feel ready to go. Even if they have practice later, they still would rather work out in the mornings because they feel like they're ready to go. But then also it gives them more time in the afternoons to take care of everything else and not have that worry of like, oh, okay, I have to get this done because then I have to get the weights or things like that. So sometimes they prefer to have it a little more earlier in the day, so they feel like they can have the rest of the day to either unwind or to take care of school, to take care of if they have a job or something like that. It gives them that opportunity also. So
That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, I guess now kind of relating to what we're trying to propose at Lifting the Veil in the prayer aspect, a lot of people tell me, well, why would you wake up at 4:30 a.m.? It's kind of crazy. Can you do it like at 7 a.m.? And there's a reason for it. And there's a background of it. And what we're trying to do with Lifting the Veil, and it's something that we've done a while ago, and we're not the only ones. So we're Catholic, and in the Catholic Church, there's called a liturgy of the hours, which is kind of like a reading that the whole church is supposed to be doing at some point in the day. But so it's kind of cool because we have something that guide us, and that supposedly at that time everyone's doing. Well, I mean, a lot of people are doing. So it's not only that just because we're crazy, but it's also there's a purpose of like sacrificing. Like you were just saying that kids feel like they're getting more accomplished, and you said that, hey, when I do a workout, like personally, when you do it, I get something done at the beginning of the day. I feel like my days has more purpose or is more accomplished, I guess. For us in the prayer, and what we're inviting people to do is, well, the first commandment is to love God above all things. So by trying to do that in the mornings, I'm not saying it's easy. I struggle so much. I mean, so much. I don't want to get up. I'm like, why?
well, that's the hardest part too. The hardest part is just getting up.
Exactly. Yes.
Yes, that's the hardest part.
It's the toughest. It's like the first step of out of your bed is like, oh, you hit the snooze button, and you're like, no, I'm not getting up. Yeah.
But once you get up and once you like take a couple steps, it's like, okay, I'm up, I'm going, like, and then you're good to go. But the hardest part, if you could just get out of bed, you'll be good. You'll be set.
Yep, I agree. And it's kind of like if you were scared, like I don't know, it happens to me like, oh my goodness, what's the worst that can happen? You just get up and you get started. Yeah. But with the prayer, a lot of times it's like, I don't know, it's like it's not as, I guess the gym you can see results not as automatic, but you can see like you start to get going, you start liking it. I don't know. That's what happens to me. I don't know. When I get into the routine of working out, I start like enjoying going to the gym. Sometimes with prayer it can be harder because you don't see results as like. It's hard because God is not really talking to you out loud, yelling at you, but it is kind of like a constant relationship where you're getting closer, but sometimes you may not hear anything. So it's just like the challenge of being persistent, although you're not seeing something with your eyes, but you maybe feel it later on in life, which is what has happened to me, in my opinion. But just to leave that aside, I guess going on with what we were talking, is it true that working out, what I heard, I'm not an expert, so like that it creates like some type of, it's called dopamine or something that helps you with your mental health and all that stuff. I've heard a lot of things about it, but
so dopamine is something that's in your brain. So what happens is you work out, you get a dopamine release, and what it is, it's pretty much it's like the feel good hormone. And what it does is it releases, and overall it reduces anxiety, it improves your mood. It just it's pretty much like the kickstart to your day. Like it when you get done, it's called in relation to like if you're ever running and if you've heard of like a runner's high,
Yep.
that's what it would be. It's the dopamine release where you feel everything just feels good. You feel super accomplished. You'll feel very, very happy. Or like, say you get done working out and all of a sudden you have all these plans of all these, oh, I'm going to start doing this. I'm going to plan to do this. I'm going to work out every day. And you have all these instant thoughts. It's because you feel super good. You feel super accomplished. And that's the dopamine release. And that's why like in the morning, it's so good to get that little release because then you already start that day off on such a higher note. So
That's awesome. That's awesome because yeah, I've heard. I mean, I've done a little bit of research, but the reason I started kind of working out more even after college was one of those things because I had a friend who was doing intermediate fasting, and he told me about it. At the beginning, it was kind of sounded crazy, but I started doing it and working out and having that same feeling you just described of just like clear mind and like a lot of like ideas and good ideas where like you go through with them. Like you were saying, if you get out of bed, it's great. And then the same with the ideas that come out of you when you have that, I guess, that shot of dopamine, if you can call it that way. But
yeah,
that's pretty cool because I'm very passionate personally about like, I don't know, like inspirational things, inspirational stories. But I think that one of the things most inspirational, in my opinion, are the like ordinary stories where like people that can get motivated to go do their jobs and find in the ordinary things that can motivate them and do huge things like helping a team succeed, helping a team be motivated. Like you were saying, it's so hard because energy is contagious. If you're a coach with a bad energy, with a low energy, the whole team is going to have a bad energy. And I actually personally experienced it recently. Not saying bad things about the team, but we had a strength and conditioning who wasn't as upbeat as like I was used to in Hastings with you and Coach Wells. I mean, Coach Wells was pretty upbeat. I loved it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I think that's cool because again, going back to our lifting the veil topics and idea is we're trying to share something that is cool, that is going to be good for people. So we're not trying to share something that like I think the 4:30 a.m. morning for me, it creates a similar dopamine effect, not as like the same, I guess, dimension as working out, but it does give me those feelings and that clear of mind where like once I finish the prayer, like I get ideas. Like when I had the idea of texting you, that was after a prayer. I was like, well, I think it would be cool to talk about maybe more of like the logical aspect of getting up early and maybe the physical aspect, because it is true that you can work on your physical body and yet that can help you mentally and be more like stable, I guess, or more, I guess, upbeat throughout the day. You also have to work on your spiritual side because I think we're made with a body and a spirit, and there is no way we can just work on one aspect and forget about the other one. So I think having a good balance is pretty cool. But I guess going to another one, which is the hardest thing, I think that's what I struggle with, and it's being consistent and developing an actual habit. Because I'm gonna share a little bit about myself. I can have like 2 months where I'm like totally committed to working out, to prayer and stuff, and then out of the sudden there's like I hit like a slump where I just like, nope, I'm not going, and start gaining weight or not waking up, and like so what I was gonna ask you, is there a way maybe with your knowledge in which you can maintain kind of like a consistency of motivation, maybe not getting burned out? Because what happens to me sometimes I just go like every day to the gym and then maybe need some days off. So
yeah,
based on your experience, how can you become consistent with it?
Yeah. I think overall, number one is make sure you have like an overall purpose of why you're doing it too. You know, like have a ultimate goal or have goals set. And I think that initially will help you get started and get that consistency going more, because it's really hard to work out if you don't have like a good goal of why you're doing it, you know. That's something I even struggle with now because, you know, working out's like my whole life, where it's like it's hard when I'm like not training for something, you know. If I'm just like working out just to work out, I get super bored of it and I get burnt out on it because I'm in the weight room every single day. So for me, it's really finding that ultimate goal. Okay, what am I working towards? What am I trying to do? And then I have a huge purpose of, okay, now this is why I have to get up and start my workout. I think that's a good start. When it comes to consistency, is I like to, you know, set out a plan. and kind of write it out and be like, hey, I'm going to take this hour and I'm going to devote that to working out. And I'm going to write what my workout is down. And I tell myself, if I wrote it down, I have to do it. So like if I write the workout down and I put all these sets and reps and stuff and I get going, I'm like, wow, I really don't want to do it. I hold myself accountable to it because I wrote it down on paper. I have to do it. So that me and my buddy who I used to work with, we would always tell ourselves like, hey, if we wrote it on paper, we got to do it. So it would always hold us accountable during the workout to like not skip out on stuff and not try and like fast forward through the workout or anything like that. So that was something that helped us out a ton. And then definitely finding that routine too. Finding that routine of, okay, hey, on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, I'm going to go work out at 6 a.m. and blah, 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 and then go through on without my day. And then maybe Tuesdays and Thursdays, I work out at 8 a.m. because I can sleep in a little bit. So it's not as early, but still early enough where, I'm waking up, I'm getting a workout in, I'm still starting my day. But I'm staying consistent. But if you can't work out every day or you don't want to, that's fine. I think getting as little as 2 workouts a week of like 45 to 60 minutes is going to be great for people who are just starting or people who are even at a moderate workout pace too. But if you can get at least like 3 times a week, that's plenty. I think that's good enough, especially, people are busy. People have lots of stuff going on and definitely understand that. But you can always go for a 30-minute walk, go for a little walk around the neighborhood and things like that. But just trying to make time for it too. That's tough too, is, we can always find reasons why not to do it. It's sometimes hard to find that reason why. So it kind of goes back to your goals again, making sure you relate to your goals. I think something that helps too is to like tell people about it, like tell a friend, tell, a family member or something. And then like, I would even ask them like, hey, check in on me with this, see if I'm still doing it, kind of hold me accountable or something, like I'll tell if I was doing something, I would tell my dad like, hey, make sure I'm doing this, be on me a little bit about it. Like, don't be afraid to call me out, things like that too. Cause I think it kind of holds you accountable. And sometimes you need that a little bit. Like, hey, did you get your workout today? Oh no, I didn't. And it might be like, okay, I'm gonna get it tomorrow, or like, and then it just might be like a contagious thing, but kind of like you're saying, you can get burnt out. I think it's okay to take rest days too, just make sure, that rest day doesn't become the new habit, like say like, hey, I'm going to plan my rest day for here. And then I'm going to wake up and get a workout going. I think it's very important to, plan. I think planning is a big thing. I think that helps with consistency for sure, planning to go work out. And then I think once you get going, you're good to go. So
that's awesome. Cause you mentioned like amazing things. It's funny because how it relates to what I'm thinking, because I am very interested in the aspect of working out and developing that consistency, but also on the spiritual side, it is very similar to what you just said. You said having a purpose. There's no way or no possible reason that it would make sense to get up at 4:30 a.m. if you don't have a bigger purpose than just like, what I'm saying? Like that would be stupid if you ask me. At 4:30 a.m. you don't have a bigger purpose, then that makes sense. You're crazy. If you have a bigger purpose, then it makes sense. And same for the gym. If you have a bigger purpose, if you're preparing, I guess, like you were saying, for you, it used to be preparing, I guess, for a football game, or like, like for me, it was as well. Like I struggle with it as well. Like, hey, why am I working out? Is it because I'm preparing for a golf tournament, which a lot of people think, well, you don't need to work out, but I do think that you need to. But it's having that purpose. And then another thing that you mentioned, which is amazing because it completely correlates to the spiritual side, is having someone that keeps you accountable, someone that may be critic towards you, someone that can help you when you're down, someone that's going to help you when you have that feeling of, I'm going to skip, there's no way I'm getting up today. Someone that can tell, hey, dude, we said it, we wrote it down, let's do it. Come on, I'm with you. I got your back. I think that's amazing because that's what we're trying to do here in this channel. I mean, obviously it's virtually, it's a little bit kind of less personal, but our idea is to be over ourselves, over our hands, wherever we are. I mean, we have like Bible studies and different resources and tools to help other people kind of feel like we can keep them accountable and they can keep us accountable. So I actually was just talking yesterday with a friend that I made here in Kansas, and he was telling me about a few things that he's struggling with. And it's funny because I'm struggling with kind of like the similar thing. So we were just like, hey, let's come up with 4 or 8 things where we can like work on these things and keep each other accountable. But we're talking about the spiritual side. So it's kind of cool that you mentioned that, because it is also, if you want to become consistent, having a habit in the, I guess, physical aspect of life, you need that accountability partner, which I think that's cool. That's awesome.
Definitely.
That's awesome. Well, I guess going into more, I guess you answered the other one, but this is a question that I did not send you, but I
No,
hope
you're
to.
good.
So can you share with us a tough experience as a coach, or maybe as an athlete, that you had, and how did you overcame it? Like maybe an injury or something personal, whatever it is that you feel comfortable, and how did
Mhm.
you overcome it? And did it have anything to do with maybe a routine or a good habit that helped you get out of that situation? Is there anything that you want to share?
Yeah. Let's see. I think for me, when I was younger, when I was in high school, I ended up breaking my leg, and going into before that, it was before wrestling season. Um, I was ranked in like the top 25, and I broke my leg before that, so I didn't even get to wrestle that whole season. That was my first time I was ranked. So like for me, like as a a kid who's been working hard for that, and just kind of get it torn away from you, it was a little upsetting. But I think it really allowed me to kind of dig deep a little bit and show me how much I truly did love like that sport, and how much I loved being around. And I kind of tried to find a different role I could play on the team. Um, but it was tough, because there was days where like, I'd have that like, why me? Why this happened to me? Like, what did I do to like deserve this kind of thing? Whereas like I felt like I've been doing everything I should have been doing, and things like that. So I really had to dig deep, and like there were some times where I was like super, super down about it. And I had to really kind of find myself a little bit, rediscover that like passion for why I was, doing the sport, why I was showing up to practice every day, even though I couldn't do anything, you know, and I kind of found it when I started to like coach the younger kids, kind of help them up and do as much as I could. And I think that kind of gave me my little fix of, you know, being a part of the sport without being in the sport. Um, but that was definitely like a moment where it was kind of like super upsetting, because I was supposed to be like one of the top ones for that year, and then it was just all taken away in like a split second. So
That's cool that you share that. Thank you for that, because it's tough. But then, so you're saying like you had to dig in deep inside and find like,
mhm.
would that take you to practice football, or how did you like then play college football and decided? I mean, guess I don't know if it's okay to ask like what took you to find that path then. And I guess you were pretty good in college, is what I remember. But what kind of changed in your mind? Was it like not the passion, but maybe you were maybe felt that football was a path where you could continue to be important part of a team? What was it that gave you that
Yeah.
direction?
So like football was always something I loved, and I still love it to this day. Um, I think for me, going to college to play football was something I always like dreamt of. Like that's what I always wanted to do. Um, and I think the best thing that happened for me when I got to school to play football was finding my passion for like coaching, and finding my passion for helping others, and finding my passion for helping athletes develop into the best that they can be. I think that's where I truly found what I like to do. And I think it became less of like wanting to play football, more I was in a great position and a great opportunity to learn about this whole world of strength and conditioning, of where I can truly like help athletes. And I think it becomes more than just helping athletes be athletic. I think it becomes helping athletes be the best person that they can be. I think the weight room is a great tool for helping people learn a lot of life lessons, when it comes to discipline, when it comes to consistency, when it comes to realizing that things are hard, and it's okay that they're hard. It's like, what are you willing to do to be better and learn from it? And it's okay to fail. You're going to fail in life a lot, but how do you respond from it? I think the weight room teaches you a lot about how to respond to hard things and how to respond to failure. And that's what I really, really loved about it. So I think that was the best thing that ever happened to me. Was I went there to play football, but I found the weight room. And I think that's where like I truly found my passion.
That's awesome. That is awesome because, well, you mentioned all the things that I feel inspired for. This is a topic that I love. I love not only, like you were saying, yes, strength and conditioning. You can help an athlete become an athlete, and that's awesome and be successful. But the beautiful thing about coaching, which I've done a little bit, is how can I help this person as a person? Like how can I help them develop and become better in many ways, grow up, mature, take
Mm,
decisions, better decisions. And we were both in college. I know Hastings, small college, but there was a lot of partying going on, and
yeah.
a lot of kind of distractions that can kind of shift you away. And I have several stories that were kind of funny, but also that brought me very down in college, which was
Mm,
also some of the reasons, or one of the reasons why I'm doing this now. I think I'm still kind of learning from those mistakes and also good experiences, because I had a lot of great experiences in college. Like what you just said, you found your passion in Hastings College at the weight room. For me personally, I don't know if you remember a class that we took, which was called World Religions. I remember you were in that class with Daniel Duffenbaugh. I don't know, because I remember, but you maybe not remember the
no,
class.
I remember the class. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You remember? Okay.
The teacher like wrote everything on the board.
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
He was old and he was very like intellectual.
yeah.
Yes, Daniel Duffenbaugh. For me, that was, it's crazy because not that class specifically, but throughout that time and that class kind of helped click it. I was reading for the first time the Bible, and I was reading the
Mm,
Gospel of John. So anytime I was going to that class, it was like everything was clicking. So for me,
mm,
that class was not that I found my passion specifically, but it did help a lot. I mean, I had a crazy experience that I make me share with you in another day. But with my roommate Asier, which I love and I respect so much, we were roommates for 3 years. We had an amazing conversation, which I'm not going to share the details for respect for him, but we had an
mm,
amazing conversation that changed my life. I mean, till the day, I remember we talked like 2 or 3 years ago during the pandemic, 2 years ago, and I was telling him, if you remember that conversation we had our sophomore year, his freshman year, my sophomore year, and he said, yes, I remember. It was amazing. It changed my life, and it came from reading the Gospel of John, which is, I
mm.
think, I also found my passion in Hastings. I thought my passion was golf, which I think is still a strong passion of mine, but
Yeah.
I did find a strong passion. But it also was from going down, like you were saying, in high school you fell down because of like that circumstance that you were asking, why me or why this.
Mhm.
I think that's a question that we, at some point in our lives, we also have to. I think everyone as a human being has had those moments, and it's what you do with that and how you come back. How can you get up out of there? Is the reason why we're doing this lifting the veil channel is also because what we, like you were saying as well, you have to share. I guess in the weight room, you have to share your experiences because that's contagious and how you have
Mhm.
been successful. The same with these situations. How were you able to overcome your problems or your situations? If you share that, you can inspire another one. So I
Yeah.
think it's great. I think that's awesome. Well, I guess going to the last one, it kind of relates to, I was just mentioning a little bit of the partying at Hastings, and I did some. I know you did
Mhm.
some, but it's part of the college experience. But
Yeah.
now that you're on the coaching side, I had that dilemma as well. It's like, how can I help the kids understand that to a certain degree this is going to affect them not only here in the weight room, in the sport, but also in the long term.
Mhm.
So I was going to ask you, what are some of the dangers of partying in college, and how can the gym and maybe the Lord, which I can talk about a little bit, can free yourselves from those, I guess, those dangers that can create in your life as an athlete with your experience. I guess, yeah. What would be something you would recommend, or what is something to tell your current athletes, not to avoid it completely because part of college, but maybe to be responsible and see that
Yeah.
you can find that dopamine, that sense of happiness in different things that may not, I guess, destroy your life. Which I've known a lot of people that have troubles with alcohol, drugs, and all that. So
Absolutely. I think I think it'd be like a little naive for me to think that they wouldn't do it,
yeah,
like as much as I talk to them because like you said, we've all been there and they're gonna experience or whatever. So my big thing that I like to emphasize, I don't like to have too many conversations about it just because I like to keep that coach athlete separation. But I do tell them, ultimately, like, just be safe. That's the number one thing. Put yourself in good situations. Don't put yourself in bad situations. Um, always be around your friends. I think that's the most important thing. Try not to be in a bad situation ultimately. And I always tell them, like, if they need anything, they can always come talk to me. I might not know how, like, if it's something you need to talk about regarding relationship, friend, whatever it is, family. If I'm not the one, I can always find you somebody that can help you with that. And when it comes to alcohol and drugs, like, I'm not here to get people in trouble. I'm here to help people. So I always try to make that clear, that ultimately I'm just here to help them. I'm not here to, you know, put them in situations to be unsuccessful or to make them feel like they're doing something wrong. I don't want them to feel that. I want them to feel like they have somewhere to go if they need to go there. I think, if you see it as a problem, I think it doesn't hurt to ask for help. Always ask for help. Nobody's going to look at you different. Nobody's going to look at you in the wrong way. I think it's okay to ask for help if you're ever in a situation like that. So
I love that. I think that's amazing because, like you're saying, I think the worst thing we can do, and what I remember as a coach recently, is like make them think that we're gonna get them in trouble because some of the times, or most of the times, what kids are doing is, like you were saying, asking for help, asking for someone to guide them or give them their perspective. And you can definitely relate because you were once an athlete, you were once in college. It's kind of easier to tell them, hey, dude, this is what I've done. Maybe asking for help is the best thing I could have done in your position. And I think that relates to the last question that I wanted to ask you, which is related to one of the first things you said about kind of like having a purpose, and if it's whether it's losing weight or whatever. For me, I'm going to really quickly share a kind of funny story from when I was in Hastings. But I gained a lot of weight. I would think it was my sophomore or junior year, the first time I went to the apartments. I was living with, I don't know if you remember Cameron, Bartel, Marcus, and Nasir. And I was getting so fat. Like I hit a low place in my life. I was drinking too much. I was not waking up early. That was one or the only semester where we did not have like organized workouts. And for some reason, I just kind of fell apart fell apart in many ways. Like I was just ordering Pizza Hut, like things that I've never done, doing homework in my room. And I just got so fat. But I didn't never realize it. Like, honestly, I would look in the mirror, but it was definitely clear that I was getting fat. Like some of my friends would kind of joke around with me, but I never took them serious. And then when I went back to Colombia for Christmas break, a guy that was very direct, very blunt, he just told me, dude, you're a fat ass. And I was like, what? And even my family, they were thinking it. They were like, we wanted to tell Juan that, hey, dude, you gained so much weight, but what is it? But I never asked for help. And I think never asked for help. And I was in a low spot in my life in many different ways. I was having problems with my dad. I was definitely drinking too much, and took me to a low level where I was like really feeling bad. And I did not have the self-discipline or the self-motivation to go to the gym, to get out of bed, like what we were talking, to really just do things that I used to do, like going to the library. For me, going to the library and doing homework there was a sense of like fighting my I guess inner self of just staying in bed and doing, like, library was a good place for me to just go, okay, do homework, boom, like going to the gym. But that semester I did not go. Where I was going to try to go to this is, one is the aspect that you were just mentioned about asking for help. I think that's the main thing. I was actually talking to my brother this morning. I was asking him, do you think the church, because I remember a priest talking about this and it really struck me. Is the church a place like a hotel for saints, or is it a hospital for people who are wounded or harmed, like, that need healing, that need help? And I was telling him, I definitely know, and I know, because I've experienced it, that it's more of a hospital where you can get help, where you can heal wounds, where you can recover, where you can, yes, you fall down, but you can get up. It's not a hotel where everyone's perfect. That does not exist. I think I not hate, but I don't like that idea. That's not the reason why I've joined the church. I joined the church because I'm asking for help, because I know that I've been down. So that's amazing that you mentioned that. I wanted to ask you another question on that, but before that, when people gain weight, and for me, it was that experience, and it goes back to one of the main versicles that we said here at Lifting the Veil, which is John 8:32, which says, and you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. And that has struck me because it's one of the first versicles that I read, because I first read the Gospel of John and impacted my life. But it's kind of like, if we look at it in many different ways in psychology and psychiatry, and even when people are alcoholic, the first thing that they need to recognize is that they're an alcoholic. They need to know the truth. When I was fat, I needed to know that I was fat. But I didn't want to know it because I was going to feel bad. But once this guy told me, hey, dude, you're fat, I realized, I looked at me in the mirror, I looked at my size of my pants. I'm like, well, dude, I am fat. I came back to Hastings, and it was funny, but in a month, I just like ate chicken and salad, and I ran a mile as fast as I could every day, and I lost the weight, and I came back to my normal weight.
Mm-hmm.
But I needed to know the truth. I needed to know that I was in a bad place in order to set free of that. So what I was going to ask you in that sense, when someone does not feel good about the way they look, or maybe
Mm-hmm.
does not feel even capable of getting out of bed, what would be one thing that you've learned as a coach and as a strength and conditioning coach that could help them, or maybe two or three things, little keys that they can maybe apply to their life so that they can get out of bed, so that they can start doing the things that they don't want to do, but they deep inside know that it's what they need to do?
Yeah. I think number one is start small. Don't try to rush it. Don't try to like say, I'm going to lose 20 pounds in a month.
Yeah.
Like start super small with, I'm going to try to get up. Like say you normally get up at like 9 a.m. and you get ready because you have to leave for work right away. Maybe it's, I'm going to start with getting up at 8 a.m. I'm going to do a 30-minute workout at home, and then I'm going to get ready for work. So it's as simple as just an extra hour, right? It's just something simple, doing a little workout at home, maybe go for a 30-minute walk in the morning. Simple as that. Start with just that and just doing that. And then you create that habit. It's like, okay, now I'm going to start with every morning I'm going to eat breakfast, right? Because eating breakfast is one of the most beneficial things to losing weight. So every morning I'm going to, now it's like, okay, I get up at 8, I go for a 30-minute walk, and now I'm going to eat breakfast after with, a good breakfast, not just like a protein bar. I'm going to eat something. I'm going to have it planned out the day before. I'm going to eat it. Boom. You start with that. You do that for 2 to 3 weeks. And then you just kind of keep building off these little tiny simple things where it's like, okay, I'm going to wake up a little earlier now because I've gotten good at getting up at 8. I'm going to wake up a little earlier and extend my workout. And then you just kind of keep increasing it. So it doesn't have to be like a all at once thing. I think sometimes people get to the point where they feel like they got to do 6 things at once and create all these brand new habits, and it just gets overwhelming, and it ends up you create no habits because you just stop everything because it's just too much for you to handle. So starting small and starting with like 1 to 2 things at a time is a lot better way to get success. It's easier to manage. It's easier to kind of work on just one thing and focus on one thing instead of being like, okay, I got to do this, got to do this, got to do this, got to do this. And then like if one thing doesn't get done, then it kind of turns into, you kind of panic because you didn't get that thing done. Then another thing doesn't get done. And then it just turns into a huge like spiral of not getting everything done. And then you get defeated, and then you kind of just stop doing it. So I think it's definitely important to really just start small and kind of create small, strong habits that you can just build off of. You don't want to just, ideally the ultimate thing would just be able to hit the finish line right away, but it's something that you have to build on and progress and continually grow on that.
I really like that. I really like that because that's another thing that I'm passionate about is the little things that become big things.
Mm-hmm.
To make a big change, you need to start in the little things. Like I love that. I don't know if you've heard of Jordan Peterson. He's a big famous right now, but I read his book 12 Rules for Life, and it's just really simple things, very logical. You would say, oh, it doesn't take a genius to think about that. But he mentions little things like, hey, you want to change the world? Go organize your room. Go organize, like make your bed. Start with that. Then the pile of papers that you've never organize that, and you'll see that from doing that, then you'll want to do something else. And something like you just said, hey, start with little things. And I think, again, going to the spiritual life is the same. We sometimes think, oh, I need a big sign from the Lord to show me that He's true or whatever, or I need a big change in my life. Like I need to completely change all of my habits. That's what I used to think, to be honest. And it starts with little things, like you were saying, maybe to work out, like maybe, okay, let's do a little 30-minute walk, then do breakfast. I've never heard of that, and that's cool. That eating breakfast can help you lose weight. That's good. But yeah, I think sometimes we focus too much on the overall thing, big thing. It looks unreal. It looks unrealistic. It looks like such a massive task when all you got to do is kind of like a little step. Like, okay, do this little thing. I've listened to an amazing video. I always remember. It's I think it's a military, a general or something, that he talks about making your bed.
It's he was at the University of Texas graduation ceremony.
Yes.
Yeah. Great video.
Great. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I've lived through that since I watched it, and I can't say changed my life, but it did help me because that's the first thing I do. I've made it since I watched that video in my bed,
Mhm.
and my brother laughs at me. He's like, "Why? That's not important." I was like, "Dude, it makes a difference. It makes a difference in my life. I've accomplished
Absolutely.
one goal." Like,
There's probably a dopamine release to that, where like you get that accomplishment of doing that first thing in the morning, and you're like, okay, I can do that. Okay, now I can take care of this. I can take care of this. I can take care of this. So
that's awesome. Well, I love that you mentioned that. I think to wrap it up, I wanted to ask you now in this experience with athletes and yourself as a strength and conditioning coach, just to wrap it up, come and maybe give me three things because again, we're recommending three things for people to do to develop in their new life. I guess in the spiritual side, we're proposing 4:30 a.m. morning prayer, then one short prayer during the midday, and then one night prayer. That's what we're kind of proposing people to do. That's something we do as here in the team of this YouTube channel. So maybe three things that you can recommend people for them to develop I guess, a healthy habit that can
mhm,
help them also in their spiritual life. So maybe three things that they can do every day that can help them.
definitely. Number one, start small. I think that's very, very important. Number two, create obtainable, strong goals. You don't want to set a huge goal that you're just going to be really, really hard to obtain. Start with some small goals that, like you said, you accomplish and you get that that high of getting it done. And number three is have a support system. You don't have to do it alone. Tell a friend, tell a family member. I think those are three things that will really set you up for success.
That's awesome. Well, I really enjoyed it, Hayden. I think I thank you for your time. Appreciate
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
this invitation. Just every time we do a video, I always remind people to subscribe, hit the like button, share it with your friends. We're starting the English section. We've had some not major success, but we're a little bit growing in Spanish. But we do really want to. I mean, this is a massive country, so the more people can see these videos and maybe find something useful for their lives, it would be amazing. Share your feedback, comments if you don't like whatever we talked about. We also love the constructive feedback because that's going to make us grow. So again, thank you so much, Hayden, and everyone, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thanks for having me.